I will be explaining the connection between the television show The Good Place with Dante's Inferno. While Dante wrote the Divine Comedy in the 14th century, his ideas are still clearly prevalent today. The Good Place is a sitcom that shows the lives of three main characters who find themselves in the afterlife. They realize they're in the good place, which is essentially heaven. It doesn't take long before the characters realize they have mistakenly been put into the good place. The first season ends with the twist that they have been in the bad place all along, but the characters were too busy trying to hide their true sinful personalities to realize they've been surrounded by things that they don't like. Basically, their own personal hell. I will be analyzing three of the major relationships that I found between The Good Place and Dante's Inferno. So the first is the setting of the neighborhood, the presence of a guide, and then lastly, the physical journey that both of the characters in the TV show and Dante go through. So the setting of the neighborhood really can be compared to Limbo in Inferno. So while the neighborhood creates an ideal world, it really is actually the bad place, which we find out later in the show. But the characters are obviously unaware of this. This can be compared to how Dante is unaware that he has actually entered Inferno while he's in Limbo because it's such a weird state. Next is the presence of the guide. So Michael is a main character who always seems to show up for the main characters at inopportune times and when things seem to be going wrong. Obviously, we know that Virgil was a mentor of Dante's and his guide through Inferno. Michael can be seen as the character's guide in the television show because he's constantly directing them to their next move. But where he differs from Virgil is that we actually find out that Michael is a devil who lives in the bad place and created the neighborhood for the main characters. So that's why he always shows up, because he knows when bad things are going to happen. So the last similar theme was the physical journey that both the characters and Dante go through. In order for Dante to get out of Inferno, he actually has to travel through each of the circles. And in the television show, once the characters figure out how to escape the neighborhood, they have to travel to the center of the bad place. So their journeys are extremely similar. While watching The Good Place, I realized that some of the main characters are given extremely distinct traits that would make them fall within a circle of Inferno. And so the first character I will analyze is Chidi, and his most notable trait is that he's extremely indecisive and can never make up his mind. This trait would land him in the first circle of Inferno, which is filled with those too cowardice to make up their minds. And the clip that I'm about to play exemplifies Chidi's indecisiveness throughout the show.
Okay, we have so many big choices to make. Let's start small. Do you want to use a dry erase board or the regular pen and paper? Just pick.
Chidi, just pick. Come on, Chidi, pick someone. Don't pressure me, Uzo. I have to consider all the factors. Athletic strategies, the fragile egos of my classmates, and gender politics. Should I pick a girl as a gesture towards women's equality? Or is that pandering? Or do I think it's pandering because of my limited male point of view? I'm vexed, Uzo, vexed. You're always vexed. Just pick. Okay.
It'd be easier to sort out the issue of dry erase versus paper if I could write down the pros and cons for each. But, of course, I would have to use one of them to write down the pros and cons for them, which is problematic.
What?
The next character I'm going to analyze is Tahani, and her most notable trait is that she's extremely greedy, but for attention. So throughout the show, you will constantly find Tahani talking about her accomplishments and the people that she knows in order to gain attention from the other characters in the show. Because of this, I believe Tahani would fall in the fourth circle of Inferno, which is filled with souls who are greedy. While those souls are greedy for material goods and money, Tahani is still greedy just for attention, which is obviously not tangible. The next clip that I'm about to show helps exemplify the ways Tahani tries to get attention from her peers.
You know, this really reminds me of my time in Vietnam, picking up mortar shells with my godmother, Diana. It doesn't really matter what she's a princess of, it's not really important. Oh, it was a perfect evening. Princess Stephanie was there, as with Posh and Bex. You know, International Sophisticate magazine gave us 5 Gwyneths. Janet, when I turned 18, I knelt in front of Princess Grace's dress mausoleum, and I swore to uphold the hostess code. I'm going to tell you the same thing I told Pippa Middleton right before we went paragliding in Gibraltar. Let's go. Oh, that's what I said. This neighbourhood that you've built is truly a masterpiece, the likes of which I've never seen. And I've been to Johnny Depp's private bird sanctuary.
The final character I'm going to analyze is Eleanor, the main protagonist of the show. She can be characterized as selfish, rude, and dishonest, and for this, I believe Eleanor would fall into the ninth circle of Inferno with the treacherous souls. During her life, Eleanor would lie in order to get her way and didn't have anyone close to her because she would always betray them. Even when she was in the so-called good place, she would be using people and betraying them just to get the things that she wanted. This next clip I'm about to show exemplifies Eleanor's selfish ways while she was still alive.
Okay, names in the hat. Time to pick a designated driver. And the loser is... Betsy.
Wait, you never get picked and you're always the one who draws the name. Let me see that.
There's no need. Everyone here believes in my integrity 100%. Right, guys?
Give it to me.
For the record, I did that out of principle because it absolutely had your name on it.
If I check the other ones, I can figure it out by process of elimination.
So, for my conclusion. While I was able to draw connections from the television show to Dante's Inferno, I realized that not all the connections would be obvious to those who have not read the Divine Comedy. I would consider The Good Place as a reinterpretation of Dante's journey through Inferno because while there are similar themes, the television show does not follow the story exactly. I also see the show as a readaptation of the Divine Comedy to fit a more modern audience and time. You can see this from the way a character embodies the sin. For example, Tahani is constantly name dropping and creating these accomplishments to gain attention because she's greedy for attention. Obviously, this is not how the story of Inferno goes. Those who are greedy are because they gambled and they were just looking to get money and material goods. I'm extremely excited for the future of the television show The Good Place and to see other ways it could connect to Dante in the future.